Okay, so this is the second episode of our show. We were supposed to do a show on Wednesday, but we said, you know what? We could do one on this Thursday afternoon. So no big deal. So this is the second episode of the Gridiron Gurus. I'm your host, Shawn Stewart, alongside my co-host, Mr. Scotty Williams. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, buddy.
I'm doing well. So we have Thursday night football. That is the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I also got player props. So if you guys have played player props, I do have the player props for you. So that will be like the end of the show. So Scotty beat me by 7 points. It was a but hey, it's only the first game, so I'm not too angry. You know what I mean? So it's only the first game.
You shouldn't be angry.
Right.
Hey, hey, when you play in a 4-team league, man, I mean, there's a lot of
That's totally different.
Right.
That's totally different.
It's going to be good every week.
Touchdowns. Yeah, but Tony Pollard got 2 touchdowns. I will say that. He could have got 3. Be honest with you.
Hey, I mean, the way the Cowboys were playing against the Giants, I'm surprised he didn't get more than that.
Exactly. So there was a couple of surprises. This past Sunday happened. Of course, the Minnesota Vikings lost to the Buccaneers because you know how I feel with Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield pulled it off. And then the one that really shocked me was Deshaun Watson against the Cincinnati Bengals. That really was a shocker because Cincinnati did lay an egg. Of course, it was raining, of course. But who would have thought Deshaun Watson would put up 20 or more points against the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, I mean, that's true. But, you know, you got a guy who's kind of coming back into his own. He was electric before the suspensions and everything. And he's a mobile quarterback. So he can throw and run. And that's just going to make him more valuable fantasy-wise, for sure.
Exactly. But the one who didn't do that well was Lamar Jackson. I was like, oh, my goodness, Lamar Jackson. Oh, but they did. At least the Ravens won. I will give them that. So I was like, well, and then of course I had the Steelers kicker. He didn't do that much because Pittsburgh's offense was like so garbage. But if you had San Francisco Niners defense, you should be get a pat on the back.
Oh yeah, they played well all around. Yeah, I mean they came into Pittsburgh and just tore them apart. I mean, it wasn't even close.
And I don't think I even watched that whole game. I was like, no. It's gonna be. We knew the 49ers was gonna win, but we didn't know like how bad of a win was it gonna be for the 49ers. Let's just put it that way. Because like I said, it's only the first week of fantasy. Because you never expect what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's always a coin toss first couple of weeks because you don't. Then you kind of have injuries that what we've seen this week. As you know, Aaron Rodgers is out for the year, so that kind of changes everything fantasy perspective with the Jets.
Oh my gosh!
What once was looked promising is not looking promising now.
It almost seems like when it comes to the Jets, they always like, oh, we like it. But then when something bad happens, you'd be like, oh, the same old Jets. So now the question will be like, if you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback let's say he's out for the regular season, there could be some quarterbacks that could look up. Like we can talk about that later on, by the way. But also I looked up Tyreek Hill. You know, he had a performance, by the way, as they defeated the Chargers. That's no surprise. And who else had some great? Who also did terrible? Chicago Bears did terrible against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that is true. Everybody likes Justin Fields. I hear a lot of people, yeah, we like Justin Fields. I don't know. I've just never been high on Justin Fields. Not to say that he can't be good down the road. He's still young.
Right.
But out of that game, the only person to me that was kind of looking pretty scary is Jordan Love. I mean, Lord have mercy. He was making some throws that kind of gave you deja vu of Aaron Rodgers. Some of those throws he was making.
Right, because nobody would ever, because you did say last week, like, look out for Jordan Love. You did say that last week.
Yeah.
I did remember that. And I was like, dang, Scotty is right about that. Because he just, like, lit it up.
Yeah. And then the scary part is, I mean, when you look at that game, he didn't have Christian Watson to throw to, which is supposed to be his top target, and Luke Musgrave got involved in that game, and a rookie tight end. Uh, Jaden Reed performed well, and Romeo Dobbs, but they're saying Dobbs could be questionable for this Packers game coming up, so that could put a little damper on things. But I don't know. I everybody wanted to write the Packers off after the Rodgers left, and honestly, I think they spoke too soon, because I think the Packers will. I think they're going to compete for that division title in the North. I really do.
And then also the Falcons had two back duo running backs, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Aguilar. They had a 15 plus touches for 75 or more yards, and combined with 3 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that game, I didn't get to see that game, but hey, if you got Bijan Robinson, he did you well. The other guy was Tyler Algier, another guy that played pretty well last year for the Falcons, and a lot of people thought he might fall off, but it might be good that they're playing 2 running backs like that, not to overwork Bijan. And then Desmond Ridder is he's not an elite quarterback, so he's going to have to find those extra players to throw to, and Algier and Bijan really stepped up last week.
And then Tua, I just looked up for Tua because he just come up with 3 yards shy of his career high, because he threw for like 466 against a offensive slugfest against the Chargers. Too bad I didn't see that game, because I was looking at other games as well, because both networks did doubleheaders. But one thing we've always said about Tua, we know he can play, but it's just, when is he going to get injured? That's the worst case scenario. But hey, we know Tua can put up some yardage, but it's just like, it's that scary moment. It's like, I don't know if I want to play him or not. But
Right.
hey, at least he threw 466 yards.
Yeah, 466. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly, I think the Chargers, Austin Eckler now is questionable. Kelly is the guy that's going to step up for him, so you might want to look on the waiver wire to see if Joshua Kelly is available. Hopefully, Eckler plays. He did have 117 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen was kind of like the leading receiver for them. He led the Chargers with, if I'm not mistaken here, 76 yards. But I was kind of expecting more from the Chargers, to be honest with you.
Especially when you have Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. That's the sad part about that.
Yeah, and if you're an IDP league, you kind of got to be shaking your head. Where's Joey Bosa gone? I mean, he had 1 tackle in that game. He just can't stay healthy, and if you're an IDP league, he's kind of a boomer bust for you every week when he plays. So Khalil Mack did pretty well, 2 tackles, and but Alohi Gilman was the big guy, the safeties. Gilman and Derwin James were the big tacklers for them in the secondary. So yeah, a lot to like about if you're an IDP league. A lot to like about Alohi Gilman and Derwin James, who's performed well. Other than the year he had a Achilles tear or ACL tear. Yeah.
And then there was another one. I know I did say Joe Burrow didn't do that well. T. Higgins do that well because he had a tied career low with 0 catches, even though he had like seeing 8 targets. And then Najee Harris, that offensive line for Pittsburgh, oh my goodness, because we talked about it, but like he had like carried the ball 6 times for 31 yards, and he had like 2 receptions, but that was only like total 2 yards receiving. So that should tell you how bad the Steelers offense is if you have somebody that's playing for the Steelers. So I'm not going to blame Kenny Pickett. It's just like that Steelers offense got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you're looking for a guy to pick up the pace for the Steelers, if you're looking for a guy out there, Allen Robinson, he could be still on the waiver wire. Johnson is out. Could be out for multiple weeks, according to what the reports are saying. And honestly, hey, Allen Robinson, he's had some solid years. You know, he's had 2 or 3 1,000-yard seasons,
Oh
and
yeah.
now, they don't really. To me, I don't feel like they have a legitimate number one. So I think they're going to be spreading that ball around. And then Pat Freemuth, the tight end, he's listed as questionable. So you're going to have to be careful if you have him. You make sure you have a solid backup.
And I couldn't have swore I picked somebody on the waivers. No, it's not Mac Jones. It's actually I'm trying to think of his name. No. I picked him up. No, it's Puka from the Rams. Puka Nacua.
Yeah, Puka Nacua. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean he
He had a quiet performance.
Yeah, he sure did. But you know what? It's not surprising. Stafford, Cooper Kupp is out. He won't be back. Probably he's got a hamstring injury, and you know how those fare for football players. And he could be their new slot guy. And if that's the case, he feels comfortable with them. Don't be surprised if you see another performance like that from Pua.
Right. And then another one that you could also pick up the waivers is Daniel Jones of the New York Giants, because he's going to face against a Cardinals team that give up a lot of points in terms of quarterbacks. So I could see Daniel Jones making a bounce back from that god-awful performance on against the Cowboys. But the only good part is about Daniel Jones on a Sunday was he did have like 46 rushing yards. He did have 46.
Yeah.
That's the only good
helps.
part.
That helps. But I mean, that what you're seeing though with that Cowboys defense is, he's going to have an easier week this week with Arizona for sure. But yeah, if you got Daniel Jones as your starter in your league, you're going to have a rough. I think you're going to have a rough season. He really doesn't have anybody to throw to. Waller's showing that, who I thought was going to turn his season around. Not to say, like I said, it's the first week, but Waller is kind of been hampered with injuries again. I thought Paris Campbell was going to do better, to be honest with you. But that defense just was on them like flies on honey. They really were.
I like that term, though. Then there's another one from the Eagles, Kenneth Gainwell from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, actually, I was just reading about him. He's actually going to be out this week. So if you have DeAndre Swift, that might be the choice for you. I don't know what the extent of the injury is, but they are showing him as out. Hey, how about in that game? You think you might see Ezekiel Elliott start picking up some more rushes? What do you think, Shawn?
I can see that. I think so.
I mean,
we don't know what type of Ezekiel Elliott we're gonna see.
Yeah, I mean they got. I mean the Eagles kind of held him in check. I mean the big guy everybody was wanting to draft was Ramondre Stevenson, and he didn't fare too well. 12 of 25 for two yards a carry. Zeke did a little better, 7 for 29, but he was averaging 4.1 a carry. That's going to be a different offense, so you don't, it's kind of like in limbo to me. It's kind of chaotic because who would have thought Kendrick Bourne would have went off for 6 catches for 64?
I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson did play well in the backfield though,
Oh
out
yeah,
of the backfield, 6 for 64. But really, I mean, Hunter Henry caught a touchdown. He's kind of, I think he's going to be their main focal point, maybe for passing. But you can't. It's just with them. It's just so you don't know what you're going to get because to
yes,
me, it's a new offense.
right.
There's so many new pieces. I mean, Juju Schuster 4 for 33. Obviously Mac Jones is definitely throwing things around, but yeah, I mean, if you are, I don't know. There's not really any solid guy on the Eagles other than maybe Mac Jones. If you had to start a quarterback, that I would say start every week because I just don't know. Maybe until maybe week 4, you're not going to really know what you're getting with these guys.
Right. And also, there's another person that had nobody never talked about is Zay Jones of Jacksonville. Because he was not far behind from Calvin Ridley in those snaps when they faced against the Colts. So Jones did finish with 7 targets and 16 and a half fantasy points, while Christian Kirk finished with 3 targets with 1.9 fantasy points. So it looks like Jones is more valuable than Christian Kirk, which is like, you would have thought like, man, I would have thought like that. But I could see a situation like that because right now it's like almost 30% of people got Zay Jones on their roster.
Yeah, I mean, don't throw Christian Kirk out to the trash yet. Like I said, it's the first week, and if you like, Calvin Ridley, he put on a great performance, 8 for 101. You hope he stays healthy. He couldn't do that with the Falcons. So, I mean, if Ridley does go down, and hopefully he doesn't, but I mean, if he does go down, Christian Kirk's probably going to be that guy. It'll be him and Zay Jones.
And then I'm also noticing there's a lot of people are looking at the quarterback of the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff. Ever since that win against the Chiefs, it looks like there's going to be some people selecting Jared Goff on their roster.
Well, hey, I mean, Jared Goff is one of the. I keep saying this. I say this on. I defend him because a lot of people don't like Jared Goff, especially in Detroit. But honestly, he's an accurate passer. He doesn't make any mistakes. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't throw for a lot of interceptions. And really, I mean that game against Kansas City, it was what it was. It was 21-20. They should have won that game. I mean, when you have Chris Jones and Travis Kelce out, your two best players your two best players on defense and offense. I mean, KC has nobody to throw to. I mean, the only person maybe I think you could probably see getting some more plays, Rashee Rice.
What?
Yeah.
Exactly. So like I said, it's only the first week. Take a deep breath. It's not like fantasy baseball where you'd be like, oh my goodness, this guy just hitting so many home runs, I won't be able to catch him.
Right. Right.
And only downside is you don't know what type of pitcher it is. That's one thing about fantasy. That's the one thing about fantasy baseball. I noticed that. Or some people say rotisserie.
Right.
So we have a game tonight. That is the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. As you know, the Vikings are 0-1, while Philadelphia is 1-0 as they defeated the New England Patriots. Now, I did pick somebody for tonight's game because one thing about Thursday Night Football is it's either a make it or break it when it comes to fantasy. So I do have the kicker by the name of Jake Elliott for the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's supposed to get almost 6 points. But I have a great feeling like this could be more. And this could be a shootout between these two because, both of these teams like to score points on the board. So expect it to be like a shootout between these two.
Yeah, and it's in Philadelphia. The Eagles don't really, they don't really have a ground guy. You know what I'm saying? Like DeAndre Swift isn't gonna. I don't think he's gonna rush for 200 yards. He's more of
Oh,
a guy coming out of the backfield. So yeah, I
backfield.
can definitely see a shootout. And but you got AJ Brown, you got Devonta Smith, these kind of guys, and then hey, Dallas Goedert as a tight end, he did not do anything last week. So I know a lot of people were considering him maybe a top 5 tight end in fantasy, and he didn't put up any points. So it, he could get involved in the game. Minnesota definitely has the players on the receiving corps with Justin Jefferson, and then Addison, the new guy, KJ Osborne. I think a lot of people picked in fantasy, thinking he could be the guy, but I think Jordan Addison, the rookie, is gonna take away time from him. And don't be surprised if you see maybe a couple touchdowns from him tonight. I really like this kid, but I agree with you. I think it'll definitely be a shootout. If you have Alexander Madison, he was okay. To me, he didn't really put up the numbers like that Dalvin Cook did.
Bro, right.
But I just think like I said, I think it'll just be a shootout between these guys, and you could see a high scoring game for sure.
Now, if you have the Eagles defense, Reed Blankenship and James Bradbury will make it easier for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Anderson more or on him. So they expect to like rack up numbers on Thursday Night Football if they have enough QB help.
Yeah. Yeah, Blankenship really came on strong for them. If you had him IDP wise, he put up some points for you. Definitely a guy. Don't drop him yet if you're in an IDP league, because I think he's going to be a pretty good safety for them, especially with the departure of Chauncey Johnson Gardner, or Gardner Johnson. I'm sorry, to them. So I think you're going to see. I don't think it's a severe injury. So IDP league, keep him around. But yeah, if you're looking to find maybe some cornerbacks, I think that you're going to see a lot of these guys get a lot of tackles, especially the safeties, just because this will be a shootout.
And then also, if you did not know, the Eagles allow the second most fantasy points among Week 1 quarterbacks to the Patriots. So just in case you did not know about that, because they did let him attempt 54 passes for 35 completions and reach 316 yards and 3 touchdowns. And you would have never thought like that, but if you think about it, think about what happened in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, because they did let go a lot of points against that Chiefs offense. So that's a really issue if you are a Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game tonight. Definitely.
Okay. So the players you can see right now, I can see a performance because I did say the kicker, DeAndre Swift and Jordan Addison. I can see them doing well. And I don't know about Alexander Madison and then Kirk Cousins, because with Kirk Cousins, when it comes to prime time, he doesn't do well as expected. So
Yeah,
like you'll put
I
him
was kind of shocked at how they played against the Bucks last week, to be honest with you. So yeah, I agree with you. Jalen Hurts should have a pretty decent game. They're gonna definitely have to stop him running the ball. So it's going to be a lot for the Vikings to really uh, corral these guys in. And I don't know. What do you think? I'm going Eagles in this game.
I would say Eagles just
Okay.
because of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. 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 But you know what though? That really, now if the Lions can come in this week and
Beat
beat the
Seattle.
Seahawks at home, that would be a 2-game lead in that division. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty good for the first couple of weeks, and that's surprising if the Vikings do lose this week to the Eagles, because that's two games you got to make up.
What about Josh Oliver, the tight end from Minnesota? Because I've been seeing some websites that he is a waiver.
Well, you know, They really haven't. They really haven't. When you think about the um, Minnesota Vikings, they really haven't gone with tight end wise. I mean, yeah, they got Hawkinson now, and they had Rudolph before. But I don't know, man. I tight ends are just so home run or bust, so to speak, every week, unless you got like a Travis Kelsey, who's basically
Yeah,
a receiver. I mean, you just gotta, it's almost a coin toss every week. You almost have to play matchups as like how they do against certain teams, or how many how what teams give up to tight ends. Yeah, it could, but I don't know, man. I just think with Addison and Justin Jefferson, I mean, I just think that's going to take away from that tight end position, when it comes to receptions.
right. So that is Thursday Night Football. So you can watch that on Amazon or Twitch. Of course, it's free on Twitch, by the way. So just letting you guys know about that. So, and of course, this will be so tonight we'll be calling it will be Al Michaels and Kurt Herbstreit. So just in case,
Interesting. Okay.
exactly, because they did it last year. Because Al Michaels don't do NFL on NBC like he used to because of
Right.
that new gig.
Right.
Okay, so we did talk about Thursday Night Football, and now we're going to talk about Sunday's game in terms of like who could be a very great player in terms of position. So you got Patrick Mahomes as he's going to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. We did talk about Jalen Hurts against the Vikings. Then you also got Josh Allen facing against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then you got Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. I can see that as a duel between Mahomes and Lawrence. I can actually do see that between these two because Jacksonville can put up a lot of points.
That is true. And you did see they got a better defense than a lot of people think. I would not be surprised if Jacksonville hangs in that game and
I told
makes it
somebody
close.
about
Yeah.
that.
I honestly think they could probably win that game. I would. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, because you see what they did against the Lions. Patrick Mahomes was running around,
For
and
his life.
yeah, and I just they really do with Allen and Trayvon Walker. I mean, they're going to be pretty nasty. They're definitely going to be an up and coming team in the next year or so. You're going to see. We talked about it. I think they definitely could win that division.
Right. Because the only team they got to worry about is the Tennessee Titans. And also looking at Anthony Richardson as they're going to face another division opponent as they're going to go to Houston of the Colts.
Well, that is that these are two teams that are kind of up in the air, so to speak. They're still trying to find their footing, I think. Anthony Richardson, he did a lot better than I thought he was going to do in that first game last week. CJ Stroud, he's still got to figure out where he's going to throw to. I keep seeing people say Nico Collins is the next guy that's going to be an elite receiver for them. I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. I haven't even really seen signs. The biggest surprise to me last week with the Texans was Dameon Pierce. He really, an elite running back last year, really didn't put up much. But you got a guy like Stroud that can run the football too. So it makes you wonder how Dameon Pierce is going to fare this year. I was expecting a little bit more from him. But the Colts, I mean, when you look at who they have, Jonathan Taylor's out right now. So it's like he's not going to be back for the next couple of weeks. And, Deion Jackson, yeah, he's okay. I mean, he's serviceable if you need somebody as a replacement. But right now, I think that Colts team is just a Anthony Richards kind of a deal. And I think it's so chaotic. You just don't know what. I mean, the only person on that team that's probably going to give you some fantasy numbers is probably going to be Richardson because everything else is kind of yeah.
And don't even mention Michael Pittman because you don't know when is Michael Pittman's going to be healthy or not,
Yeah, I
or
mean
if he
that.
gets a touchdown.
Yeah, yep. It's home run or bust every week with him.
Exactly. And then I did say Joe Burrow against the Baltimore Ravens. I could definitely see Joe Burrow putting up some points against this Ravens defense because Ravens, for some odd reason, they got a hard time getting quarterbacks for some odd reason.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think when you look at it, the Bengals just really were not good last week. But to me, I think I think they fare better offensively. I think this is a pickup game for them, especially after last week. With Lamar, J.K. Dobbins is out now for the year. You hate to see it with that young kid. Another ACL tear or Achilles, I think it was. I
Oh
don't
yeah, rest
either
of the
one.
season.
Yeah, he's done. So now you gotta basically, if you're looking at it, you got Gus Hill, or maybe it's Justice Hill, one of the two. But Melvin Gordon is on the practice squad. Don't be surprised if he gets put up there in the active roster. But I always liked Melvin Gordon, but for
And
some
then he kind
reason
of falls off.
he just ever since he left the Chargers, he's fallen off. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because he was more of a Charger than a Bronco.
Yeah.
You didn't know like when he was going to score a
Right.
touchdown.
Well, that was a unmitigated disaster last year with the Broncos. So, yeah, I'd love to see Melvin Gordon resurrect his career in Baltimore. But the thing is, you can't really trust running backs from Baltimore. You've seen it, especially with Lamar. He runs the ball so much. You're not. I don't think you're going to get a big, solid performance from any Baltimore running back. It's probably going to be, unless they get a lot of goal line carries and they score. But I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of yardage points from Baltimore running backs.
And then you also got to look at Zach Wilson, as since Aaron Rodgers is out, because they're going to face against the Dallas Cowboys team, a very great Cowboys offense, Cowboys defense that didn't let the Giants score any points.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is an interesting game. Honestly, Brees Hall's kind of the guy in the backfield for the Jets. But you've seen what they did against Saquon Barkley with the Giants last week. So it's going to come down to Wilson and how many mistakes he makes to make this game. I think with that defense that the Cowboys have, I really think they're gonna, especially with it being a home game, I really think they're gonna put it to the Jets. I just think now, I know they say, "Oh, Zach Wilson's the guy for the rest of the year." I just, he wasn't that guy
You got to
last
slow
year.
that down.
Yeah, yeah. I just, you want to see the kid. He was a high draft pick. You want to see him do well. But I just don't. He's not the quality of quarterback Aaron Rodgers is. So, like I said, that's a chaotic mess in New York. Honestly, really, the only guys I think that can maybe get you some points, probably Brees Hall. Other than that, I'd stay away from those receivers.
Right. Now, if there was a quarterback that was to avoid in week 2 of fantasy football, who would it be?
A quarterback to avoid
In week 2.
In week 2, well, let me see.
Yes. It's a very great question.
Well, obviously the Arizona Cardinals quarterback,
Right.
him for sure, and Zach Wilson. I mean, we just talked about him. Yeah, Zach Wilson. To say, because here's my thing: when you look at the Giants play the Cardinals. The Giants are going to be, really hungry to get that first win, especially
Most
after that
definitely.
blowout. So I just feel like, that Giants defense is gonna find its way, and the Cardinals are just gonna be the recipient of that. So, to get, and I just think they're gonna get at them. I would be surprised if I see anything different. But yeah, I mean, maybe stay away from a Desmond Ritter. I don't know with the Falcons. I don't know how well the Falcons. I mean, the Packers have played well,
Right.
you know. But to me, I would say Zach Wilson because he's going into Dallas and it's kind of a coin toss. I mean, yeah, he's got good running backs with Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook, but it's putting that all together. Like if they decide, hey, we're going to run the ball against Dallas, then
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to throw, and then he really doesn't have. I mean, other than Garrett Wilson, I know Alan Lazard was their leading catcher last week for the Jets, but I just don't see him, being the top guy there in New York, especially with Rodgers now gone.
Exactly. So here's another one. So since we did quarterbacks, now we're going to do wide receivers. So you have Tyreek Hill against the New England Patriots. That's a rivalry game, by the way. Justin Jefferson, we did talk about it. Jamar Chase against the Baltimore Ravens. Stephon Diggs against the Las Vegas Raiders. Amora St. Brown against the Seahawks. I definitely could see St. Brown putting up some points against that Seahawks defense, especially the way Seattle's defense couldn't contain the Rams. And then you also got Devontae Adams. Now you got Jimmy Garoppolo. You're hoping like how many touchdowns will Devontae Adams get? I could see Devontae getting the touchdown, but it's just like how many is Devontae Adams going to get? Then you also got CeeDee Lamb and Chris Olave as they're facing against the Carolina Panthers and Lamb against the Jets. So is there any wide receivers you do like?
Well, you listed off a lot of them there. I'm interested to see what the Saints are going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Thomas puts up some good. People keep forgetting about him. Yeah, he's been hurt, but he's been hurt, and I know everybody likes Olave and the other kid, Shaheed, the new guy they got, and Shaheed actually put up. He was a big waiver wire pick when you look at fantasy sites. But I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Thomas goes off in this game. To be honest with you. And it's a Monday night game also. Two Monday night games. I didn't realize
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
One's on ESPN and one's on ABC.
Wow.
So
Okay.
at
Yeah.
least I got multi-view.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That I didn't realize it, Shawn. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. They did it last year though. But the ABC one, I think the ABC one is Joe Buck. So if anybody listening, please put on the comment section to get that clarification. So I think one is Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, while I can't think who's going to be for the ESPN one. I can't think of it on the top of my head. But that's another one. You got Mike Evans as they're facing against the Chicago Bears. Deebo Samuel. People tend to forget Deebo Samuel because he did had a great season earlier on last year, and then last year it kind of went downhill. So I could see Deebo Samuel put up points against against Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think if they get out early on the Rams, it makes you wonder do they kind of rest McCaffrey a little bit, because he's been injury prone over the last few years, hasn't been able to stay healthy. Neither is Samuel, but it would seem like Samuel would be your obvious choice to get some points for you. For the 49ers, to kind of change things up a little bit. I don't know. I mean, George Kittle could be a guy that they throw to. He kind of had he was okay last week, but I know, like I said, we talked about the tight ends, and it's a coin toss every week.
Then I'm very concerned about Jerry Jeudy against Washington. It's not that he's trash. It's just Jerry Jeudy. You don't know what big play he's going to get. That's my only issue with Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I mean, and he hasn't been consistent enough since he's been in the league. Now, whether that's been quarterback issues, I mean, he's shown flashes, but whether that's been quarterback issues or he can't stay healthy, I mean, honestly, I'm surprised Cortland Sutton didn't play a little better last week than what he did. But you know, yeah, I don't. I try to stay away from Jerry Judy. To be honest with you, I just don't. I don't think. Yeah, I think he's too inconsistent. Um,
So he's probably one of the wide receivers you're probably gonna have to sit in the bench or release him.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, listen. I mean, Samaje Perine was their leading receiver last week. You know, I mean, he's a running back, 4 for 37. I mean, obviously, still not looking that great is
Right.
Russell Wilson. Cortland Sutton, 4 for 32 and a touchdown. He was okay, but you've seen him go off. Cortland Sutton's been probably a top 10 wide receiver over the past few seasons. When he's able to stay healthy. But yeah, it's just when you're looking over the stats of that game, Russell Wilson just does not look good.
And that's why I avoided him since last year. And I was like, when they played bad, I was like, I gotta release Russell Wilson. Cause nobody ever, and yeah, if you notice about Russell Wilson, his stats has been decreasing.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've talked with this. I've talked about this on my other podcast with Corey. I always felt Russell Wilson is more of a system
System
quarterback.
quarterback.
I don't think he's an elite quarterback. Granted, he probably should have had two Super Bowls.
Super Bowls.
But obviously that boneheaded call that Pete Carroll did to throw it on the goal line. But
Right.
here's the deal: he's not gonna. He was good in Seattle. I think he kind of started to tail off there, and I don't know, man. I like the guy. I think he's a decent guy, but I think there's still a lot of uh, chaos and a lot of personal issues there in the locker room.
Locker room.
And yep, and I just don't know. I just don't. I think the days of Russell Wilson being an elite quarterback or not even an elite quarterback that can get you a lot of points in fantasy, I
Right.
think you're over. I really do.
And not to mention the Denver Broncos got a new ownership
Yeah.
since last year, just in case nobody didn't know about that.
Yep.
Boy, that is not too good. All right, so now we're gonna do the tight ends. Of course, Travis Kelce, of course, that's a no-brainer, by the way. So that's easy. So the tight ends you're also looking at is Evan Ingram, because he did call all 5 passes, you know what I mean? And the same thing for Sam Laporta. Then you also got, as I'm looking at it, you got Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller of the New York Giants, because we did say the Giants can not only win this game, but you could also see some more points increase. Then you got George Kittle, Dallas Goedert, Evan Ingram, TJ Hawkinson, especially with tonight's game. And then you got Kyle Pitts. And then there's another one who's very mysterious, is David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. He's kind of very mysterious for a tight
Yeah,
end.
he's a guy that showed flashes, but honestly, I think it's a team. The Browns are a team that, if he doesn't find Amari Cooper or Elijah Moore, who led them in receiving last week, you got Nick Chubb. I just think Njoku is kind of like a 4th or 5th option for them, unless it's a red zone target. So it's a boom or bust with Njoku. Actually, I think Sam Laporta might have a pretty good game this week against the Seahawks. I mean, he really surprised me against the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense really isn't all that great, but
Right.
I mean, they used him a lot more than I thought they were going to use him, and he definitely was able to hold on to the football.
Yeah, so if anybody don't got Sam Laporta, we recommend you getting to him.
Oh yeah, definitely him. Don't be surprised if you see the Steelers throw to Darnell Washington if Pat Freiermuth is out. This is a guy that Gronk said could be the next Gronk. He liked him that much. So, I mean, he's got really good athletic ability, and I wouldn't be surprised if, especially with them being with that offense being kind of in a disarray, you know, obviously you got Pickens and Robinson now, Najee, okay, but they've always seemed to use a tight end, and Darnell Washington might be that guy.
And as a matter of fact, I actually got Sam Laporta on my roster, by the way. So
There you
according
go.
to NFL.com, he is supposed to get 6.84.
Hmm.
So it wouldn't surprise me if you get a touchdown at the red zone. I could see a situation like that, or if it's like a third down situation, I could see a situation like that for Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, they're that defense. I think what you're gonna see is the Lions throw a little more, especially with that Seattle defense. In regards to uh, the middle linebacker, Bobby Wagner. I mean, they're gonna. I can't see them really, you know, using, running up the middle with that Seahawks defense. So yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Laporta could be the guy there for sure. Yep, and you might see him a little more because I don't think he's going to be a number one defensive target. Other than uh, Amon Ron Brown, St. Brown, and
St. Brown.
Marvin Jones. He was kind of quiet last week, so I think that Seattle secondary will probably be concentrating more on him, and Josh Reynolds played well last week for the Lions. So yeah, Laporta could be a guy to definitely start this week. I would say start him.
And then I don't think we never talked about this last week is flex. So
Hmm.
that means you can get a running back, wide receiver, or whatever. Well, you can't get no defense, by the way, because that's by itself. So for the flex, you got your AJ Browns, you got your Adam Thielen, you got your AJ Dillon, you got Alec Pierce from Indianapolis, then you got Lazard from the Jets. But I think but because of Aaron Rodgers' injury, it'll probably be like, I don't think so with this situation because you're thinking like, I don't want to be 0-2, so it's like you're probably going to stay away from Lazard if you want to win.
Yeah, I get I always say when it comes to the flex position, you got to go with your best guy. Period. The best running back or tight end, or even the guy that's going to get you or wide receiver. So I mean, I know some leagues you only can play so many running backs or whatever.
Yeah,
To me, I feel like the best thing to throw into a flex position is almost sometimes if you have a good running back because
right.
you don't, it's basically you're handing the ball off and it's going to
And you
kind
get
of
more
create a little
points.
more options. Yeah, yeah, especially because you got the rushing and then he can throw, and then if he catches, that's a good thing too. So usually I kind of go with I like to stay with a running back in that flex position.
Right, because it's better to do a running back than a wide receiver. Wide receiver, they just run around. Running back, they can just do almost anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then we only got two more positions. We got defensive, defense, and kickers. Now, the defense I think this will probably be the best defense heading to week 2 is the Cleveland Browns as they will face against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this will probably be like, I can see this team not only getting sacks, but probably get like a couple of interceptions. You know what I mean? I can see Cleveland defense is putting a whooping on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. It almost makes you another game. I think the Dolphins defense could maybe put a hurting on the Patriots, even though that's in uh, at Gillette there in New England. But I'll tell you, I like the Dolphins defense. Um, don't if you got the Cowboys, the Cowboys are going up against the Jets.
And this is at
Uh,
home.
yeah, which is at home, so that they could put up a lot of points there. Trying to see.
Then you got San Francisco, you got New Orleans, Philadelphia, the Giants defense against the Cardinals, because the Cardinals, well, they can put up a little bit of points, but not like extreme.
I
You know what
wouldn't
I
be
mean?
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Jags defense play pretty well against the Chiefs. I kind of like that. I kind of like because here's the thing: if you're looking for tackles and all that other stuff for your defensive team, if the Chiefs do uh, you know,
Struggle.
make it a struggle, then they're going to be throwing the football. Because to me, I think their running game's in disarray.
Oh
We
yeah, you
talked
can't
about it
even
with
name you
Pacheco.
can't
Yeah,
even name who's the running back for the
yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah, yeah. It's been pretty bad. So yeah, I think the Chiefs definitely could be. I mean, the Jaguars defense could be something to look for. Yep, the
Right.
start.
And the great thing about this game, the Jaguars and Chiefs, they're gonna actually play that game. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're gonna show that game because there's a lot of Patrick Mahomes fans.
Oh yeah, I mean that's good. Those he's definitely going to be on anytime, anytime he can. I mean, he's a ratings booster. I mean, not that the NFL needs any ratings
Oh
boosters,
yeah,
but he's a star player, and you want to show him all over the regions.
exactly. So if there was a defense you would avoid, what would it be? Because I'm looking at the Chiefs defense. I don't like the Chiefs defense, and I don't like the Vikings I don't like tonight's game. I don't like the Minnesota Vikings defense. For some odd reason, I don't like the Vikings defense against the
I'm going to
Eagles.
go Falcons against the Packers. I think I'm going to stay away from the Falcons. If I had to go if I had to go number 2 looking here, I would probably say the Ravens against the Bengals
Oh
because the
God,
Ravens have got a lot to prove. I mean the Bengals have got a lot to prove in this week.
yeah. And then the Buccaneers. I can see the Buccaneers pulling some points. I can see the Buccaneers against Chicago. I can see that. I can see
Yeah,
the
I mean
Buccaneers pulling.
they kind of surprise. I mean they surprised me against the Vikings, so that wouldn't that I mean for them to come back and beat the Bears and give them a run for their money, especially being at home. Absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of guys that if you were a Buccaneers guy, especially in IDP, Levante David didn't put up much numbers, so look for him to him bounce back. But all around, yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then we can do kickers. Now, kickers, you got Justin Tucker as they're faced against the Bengals, Tyler Bass from the Buffalo Bills as they're going to face against the Raiders, Harrison Buckner against Jacksonville. I can see Harrison Buckner put some points in that matchup. Then you got Jason Myers, the kicker from Seattle. And then also I was looking at the kicker from Dallas, Brandon Aubrey, who used to be the kicker for the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL. For those of you who have followed the USFL for the
Mm.
past 2 years, he did some okay performances. You know what I mean? This is first especially for a kicker that's going to the USFL. And then
Hmm.
you also got Will Lutz as their face against Washington, but we don't know about that Broncos offense. You know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, don't be surprised. Brett Maher could put up some points for the Rams against the 49ers. I think that could be a shootout, to be honest with you. So he could get you a lot of points. He had 12 points for the Rams last week. He was 3 of 5 for field goals, and his longest was 54. Um, so I could see Brett Maher having a good week. Um, a sneaky one could be Riley Patterson for the Detroit Lions. I mean, if that game ends up being a shootout or even close, he's going to get his chances, and he fared pretty well last week. I mean, he didn't really get to showcase field goal wise, but when you look at he's a guy that the Lions traded for um, in the off season, and he hit on all 3 of his extra points. So don't be surprised. And it's at home. He could do well too.
Exactly. So I'm looking at it. I was looking at something. I was looking at no, I was looking at the oh, they must have got it out. So I'm going to do something that I used to do it on the other show I used to do last season. So it's called player props. So So it's called Sports Battle. So all you have to do is use promo code. Oh, let me scroll up. Oh, there we go. So new Sports Battle DFS customers can download the Sports Battle app on Google Play or on the Apple App Store. Use promo code EOTSRE27 and you get an instant match deposit up to $100. So, for example, if you put a 100, you get 100. If you put 50, they give you 50. So that's how it works. All right. And by the way, it's an app only. So just let you guys know that. And please make sure that the state you live in, that you are eligible to play Sports Battle. All right. So we're going to do 3 players. All right. So we're going to do tonight's game. So the first one, I can't believe they got rid of that, but they must have got rid of that. I'm looking at is Justin Jefferson with 7.5 receptions. Do you think that's going to be above or below?
I'm going to say above.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that they go to.
All right. The next one is going to be TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and Dallas Goedert combined 138.5.
I like the over on that.
That's an interesting one. I like that.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, that's pretty interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, this is on the app. I ain't making this stuff up. This is on the app. And then finally, Boston Scott, 23.5 rush and receiving yards.
I'm going to go under on that because I think DeAndre Swift will be the guy that kind of takes that backfield. Yep.
And I think I see somebody on the comment section. Oh, we got somebody on the comment section. So he says, who should I start at flex? London, Robinson Jr., Dobbs, Zay Jones, Jaden Reed, or Zach Moss?
Well, if Romeo Dobbs plays, I would say Romeo Dobbs out of that. Zay Jones. I just seen that. I would say Dobbs. I'm going to go Dobbs on that one.
Okay. That was from Mako J37. Thank you for that question you asked because it's 2 minutes before 2 minutes before the show was over. And by the way, later on tonight, if you don't have nothing else to do, I do have a show. It's a college football show, by the way. And that show is called because it's been a couple of weeks since I've been couple of months I've been doing this show, so I'm getting used to it. It's called, oh my goodness, I should know this. I'm gonna feel embarrassed. It's called The Neutral Zone with Ryan Neff. So that will be tonight at 7:30, and he actually has a special guest, by the way, and he goes by the name of, I forgot to put it in my notes, by the way. It is, let me get it, by the name of Lloyd Vance. So his guest is Lloyd Vance. So check that out. So it's tonight at 7:30, by the way. So that's like 1 hour before the Thursday night football. So Mako J37, we hope you got your question answered, by the way. So we will be back. And I also got some great news I also want to say. We're going to be streamed on a different platform outside. Well, we're going to be still on the same platform, but there's going to be an internet station is going to pick our show up beginning next week. So that's the very great news. So I was like, yes. So not only our show is going to be picked up, so both of our shows on Sports of America is going to be picked up, by the way. So I'm very happy that it actually happened, especially this early in football season. I'm very happy. So the Neutral Zone college football show and the Gridiron will be on the platform. So I'll let you know what platform it's going to be later on.
Awesome. That's cool.
Exactly. And great thing is the show went smooth. better than last
Yes,
week.
it sure did.
It sure did. So the great thing is I can finally upload it on the audio version. I'm glad.
That'll work, man.
All right, so we will see you guys next week, and I'll let you know on social media what platform is it, because he didn't give me the message on that. So take care. You guys have a nice and wonderful week. Good luck with your week 2 in fantasy football. Thank you very much.